Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Akam. We are broadcasting from the Hesselsons. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Akam, and welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Akam. We're broadcasting from the Hesselsons. Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning, and we have a busy show in store. Coming up in this hour, we're going to be talking with Sergeant Du Bois about the upcoming Battle of the Badges as Corning Police Department takes on Corning's Fire Department, and this event raises money for the Special Olympics. We're going to hear all about that in this hour. Then in the next hour, we have an exclusive sit-down, in-depth interview with Joseph Hernandez. Joseph Hernandez is running for New York State Comptroller, running against Tom DiNapoli. We're going to hear all about his campaign, why he's doing it. We've got quite a lengthy conversation with Joseph Hernandez, so you won't want to miss that. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors. All right, let's get right to it. Some comments from viewers. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Mark. Well, I guess today is D-Day for Iran. President Trump is going to sanction the heck on them to isolate them from the world. And Iran says not one drop of oil will go through the Strait of Hormuz. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning to you. I was so excited to finally meet Joe at the fair yesterday, even sending in a picture. There's Joe Sempolinski, and that's the Republican booth that we talked about during that interview that, as he jokes, may have been there since the time of Lincoln, but it looks good, doesn't it? Very festive, very patriotic. I told him he looked exhausted at first, but as soon as we started talking about politics, he was just like his high-energy self, like on your show. We are definitely blessed to have you guys in the community. Well, that's very nice of you to say. I also went to the 250 show in Erin as well. At the fair, drivers released their fury on each other with the demolition derby. It was awesome. There was 32 cars in the heat, and they sent pictures in. Let's look at some of those pictures. Wow. Good crowd, too, for the derby. Hey, there's the big... I heard they had some issues with that yesterday, right? Thanks for sending these pictures in. These are great. That must be from Erin 250. And there's some more demolition derby pictures. We appreciate that. I always like when people send in photos. Tell us what they... It sounds like you had a busy weekend, by the way. All right, let's get right to it. Oh, here's a little bit of tidbit for you. Today, August the 24th, is the most popular day of the year for U.S. employees to call out sick, according to a survey by PTO management software company Flamingo. It even tops America's second sickest day of the year, February 13th, which suspiciously usually lines up with the day after the Super Bowl. Interesting. So today, the most popular day to play hooky. Not here, though. Not here on Frankly Speaking. Hey, did you watch the Freedom 250 Grand Prix? I got to watch some of it. I missed the Beast going around, the president and the Beast going around the first lap. But President Trump kicked off IndyCar Freedom 250 Grand Prix near the U.S. Capitol by taking the first lap around the 1.7-mile circuit before drivers blew way past the speed limit on the National Mall, thrilling hundreds of thousands of fans. During Trump's lap in the Beast, Air Force One flew over the course, capping off a series of flyovers, which included a B-2 bomber, to herald the big race. Afterward, the President and First Lady, Melania Trump, then waved the green flag to kick off the race. They've been trying to do it for 20 years, Trump told Fox Sports. It's turned out to be, I think, bigger and better, and the weather is beautiful. You know, I was hearing about rain all week long. It's going to rain, it's going to rain. I said, no, it's not. And this is a nice day, as I've seen, the nicest day I've seen in Washington in a long time. It was the end of the summer festivities for America 250. The president arrived at Cheers and greeted the drivers as well as top IndyCar officials before getting in the Beast presidential limo for the ceremonial lap for the first ever IndyCar race in D.C. Medal of Honor recipient Commander Sergeant Major Matt Williams and Colonel Paris Davis delivered the green flag to Trump to get the race going. Interior Secretary Doug Burgum told the drivers to get their engines fired up. Then Trump waved the green flag. 25 racers completed 147 laps around the circuit, which included bumpy D.C. roads with the Capitol Building, Museum, department buildings, and monuments in the background. The cars were capable of hitting speeds up to 185 miles per hour on the tight course. On bigger circuits, speeds are much faster, as you can imagine. The 250-mile Freedom 250 Grand Prix came on a course that some drivers acknowledged was very bumpy, given the potholes and rough pavement. Alex Palou said, "I don't know if it was going to be fun or not to drive. It's a blast, super fun. It's very bumpy, huge bumps heading into turn 2 and 6. Massive bumps that are going to spice things up. Making the race even more challenging, IndyCar vehicles don't have power steering, meaning drivers had to muscle through each turn. During the race, Spanish driver Alex Palou, whom some expected to win, smashed into the wall and broke his front wing. Ultimately, 27-year-old American Kyle Kirkwood took the checkered flag. At the end of the race, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy waved the checkered flag to hail the winner. Melania Trump had teamed up with IndyCar on her Fostering the Future initiative, which aims to ensure young people in the foster system have bright futures ahead of them. We talked about that a little bit last week. So pretty cool if you happen to watch it. Love to hear your thoughts on it right here on Fox. It was nice to see. House Speaker Mike Johnson said he would love to see the IndyCar Grand Prix become an annual event in D.C. I want to bring it back next year. I want to make it an annual event, he said on Sunday. So yes, congratulations to Kyle Kirkwood winning Freedom 250 Grand Prix in Washington. Kirkwood, one of 8 Americans in the field of 25 drivers, was followed by Christian Lundgaard and Aaron McLaren. Will Power, Kirkwood's teammate, came in third. Will Power, that's his name, no kidding. All right, there you go. Okay, before we talk about Iran, the U.S. did launch a deadly strike on an alleged drug boat. This is the first time in about 2 months. Joint Task Force Western Hemisphere executed a lethal kinetic strike on a low-profile vessel operating alongside established narco-traffic routes in the Eastern Pacific, said U.S. Southern Command. 2 people were killed in the strike on Sunday. The strikes are believed to be the first one since June the 21st. It was not clear why the strikes in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific had paused. Prior to the pause, the U.S. military had destroyed at least 67 vessels and killed at least 221 people since the Operation Southern Spear campaign began in September of 2025. The administration had told Congress the U.S. is in an armed conflict against drug cartels, labeling those killed unlawful combatants and claiming the ability to engage in lethal strikes without judicial review due to a classified Justice Department finding. So there you are. There's an update. Okay, on Iran, since Mark mentioned it, Iran's supreme leader is under mounting pressure over the war, according to the New York Post. As the regime's grip on the Strait of Hormuz weakens, cash finally starts to get tight, and top political leaders publicly argue the Islamists in charge, they want a way out of this conflict. The latest phase of the conflict has been seen more and more ships quietly slipping through Hormuz, with nearly 200 vessels sailing through the strait last week. The flow represents a 400% spike in the last 2 weeks, with maritime analyst Kipler noting that the traffic finding safe passage, aided by U.S. Navy escorts, effectively means Iran has lost partial control of the strait. And while more ships and oil are getting out, Iran's own oil exports have dropped to nearly zero under the renewed American blockade on its ports and President Trump's economic D-Day measures. There's been little to no activity seen on Iran's Karg Island oil hub, according to recent satellite images, leaving Iran with few options to offset its already ailing economy hit by historically high inflation and unemployment. Pheasant threatened more penalties are to come. Finally, last week, the United Arab Emirates suspended all trade with Iran over renewed missile fire, taking away a key export hub that had helped soften the shocks of U.S. sanctions. The Islamic Republic depends heavily on the UAE, not because the UAE itself produces 1/3 of Iran's imports, but because it serves as a major gateway for Iran to access third country goods and commercial infrastructure. The reality facing Iran's plummeting economy led the regime to threaten any other Gulf ally with retaliation if it decides to join America's economic war, saying, quote, "Any country that becomes a partner in creating economic restrictions against us will be regarded by us as an enemy," said Mohsen Razi, Iran's new security chief. With its control over the strait and its economy coming under strain, Iran is also contending with a fracture in its leadership over the state of the war. Hardliners and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps maintain that they can endure any pressure while inflicting their own harm on the U.S. and its allies. And when they say they can handle any pressure, it just means that they'll let their people suffer. They have historically had no problem with that. Meanwhile, Iranian President Mohammad Pezeshkian has repeatedly warned that mounting economic pressure onto Iran is taking its toll, while cautioning against humiliating backing down before the enemy. The war must come to an end at some point, he said. It's better that we demonstrate our strength and dignity today and tell the world that we have won and that we are ending the war. Iranian Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalib also underscored the national security risk, saying no matter how much military power we have, if our people are struggling and the country lacks financial circulation and economic growth, we will not achieve progress. As someone who's experienced war, I understand the true value of peace. Now, the Supreme Leader, Jabi Khamenei, who is believed to be seriously injured and has not been seen publicly since the war began, finally resurfaced last week in a 15-second video. The clip, which is not dated and gives no indication as to when it was filmed, shows Khamenei, who succeeded his father after he was killed by Israeli bombs in the first day of the war, surrounded by advisors. His absence from the public eye, even President Pezeshkian has said it's hard to communicate with him, and the one meeting was cloaked in shadow, means his grip on the Iranian people is fading, opponents of the regime say. Now, Iran did hack, and we talked about this last couple of weeks, water and power grids. Iran's latest hacks on U.S. and U.K. water and power plants have revealed a weak point in defense that the regime will likely exploit with more cyber attacks on critical infrastructure, according to an expert telling the New York Post. When hackers linked with the regime went after water facilities in 12 states last month, they also shut down a UK power plant for 4 days in a first-of-its-kind attack around the same time. While Iran has been targeting the U.S. and its allies with cyber attacks since the war began, the latest hack suggests it was found vulnerabilities to keep targeting, warned Annie Fixler, a senior fellow at the Foundation of Defense of Democracies. Iran is realizing it can be more successful in its cyber attacks, said Fixler. These new attacks tell us they're looking for our weaknesses, and they've realized how we've let certain facilities exposed faster than we have ourselves. This whole thing highlights how we are allowed ease of access to our critical infrastructure and forgotten that those who want to harm us. Now, according to the New York Post editorial board, they said even before Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent sets out new U.S. moves to pressure Iran's economy, things are looking increasingly grim for Tehran. President Donald Trump is clearly winning and mainly needs to hold firm as the enemy tries to wiggle out. And we talked about this on Friday's broadcast, that there's a real concern there could be an October surprise to affect the midterms, and Iran could try to do some type of attack in hopes that it will help Democrats win at the midterms. Crucial oil is now flowing through the Strait of Hormuz, meaning Tehran's gambit of closing it has failed. And the neighbors that Iran has been attacking have had enough. Its largest trading partner, the United Arab Emirates, last week cut off all transactions, including financial ones. Dubai, for decades, has been key to Tehran's vision of sanctions, as well as over a third of its imports. Iranian inflation was already running over 90% amid mass unemployment and other crises, leaving the regime increasingly unable to pay its regular army. Now, even the Revolutionary Guard should soon feel the pinch, endangering the regime's ultimate linchpin. Friday's news was huge. U.S. escorts now have oil flowing steadily through the strait, with 200 ships a week and rising, now transiting safely, up nearly 400% from just 2 weeks earlier. That's still below pre-war levels, but good enough, along with other shifts in production and export routes around the world, to keep oil prices manageable, albeit up painfully from January's level. Iran's leaders are now doing another round of good cop, bad cop, with one set frothing at the mouth with threats, while others insist they want peace and offer to renew negotiations, an offer that, if Washington bites, will quickly turn into demands for preemptive U.S. concessions before they'll even pretend to talk meaningfully. The game is meant to support the narrative that Trump's domestic critics keep pushing, the idea that Iran's leadership was eager to negotiate a lasting peace, but then the U.S.-Israel strikes killed those supposed moderates along the hardliners to seize control. And our only way to defeat those bad guys is to strike a deal with the remaining moderates so they can elbow aside the worst people. The regime has been playing variations of this shtick for decades now, and Western liberals, especially in the media, keep falling for it, though the good cops never deliver any real change. As Mark Dubowitz warned last week, Tehran may very well attempt one more gambit in this strategy, using its missiles and drones and perhaps its cyber war capabilities in the biggest blitz it can pull off in late October, right before the Israeli and U.S. elections. The idea is to create an air of crisis that panics voters in both nations and so dislodges Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu while handing Democrats solid control of Congress. And with it, the ability to defund the Pentagon while miring Trump in yet another impeachment farce. Trump and his team need to warn the American people of this possibility, explaining that Iran is cornered, but still has a few teeth left and will do its best to break our will. At this point, the two sides are in the final stages of staring each other down. Now is not the time for Washington to blink. There you go. All right, there's your Iran updates. We got a couple things here about Canada. I do have a few things here about the rise of the Democrat Socialists of America. Boy, we've got a busy week in store. Tuesday, tomorrow, we're going to hear from the Finger Lakes bike rally that's coming up. We're going to learn all about that. Wednesday, Kyle Northrup will be our guest live in studio. He's a national U.S. team fighter. We're going to hear all about that. Also on Wednesday, we'll be talking with Steuben County Legislator Joe Tobia. Got a couple other guests that we're working on as well. But as I said today, we're going to be hearing from Sergeant Du Bois here in just a little bit from the Corning Police Department. And then in the 7 o'clock hour, we're going to hear, right kicking off the 7 o'clock hour, we're going to hear from Joseph Hernandez, running for New York State Comptroller. All right, stay with us. Running just a tad bit late. We'll be right back.
It's layaway your swimming pool time at Hesselson's for next year. With Hesselson's Easy Layaway Plan, only $500 down guarantees you this year's price and gets you on an early installation date for next year. But hurry in, as next year's list will fill fast. Same great pricing, same great service, same great installation. Come in early so you can enjoy your new swimming pool all summer long. Hesselson's, your locally owned and operated swimming pool store since 1955, will always be there for you today, tomorrow, and for years to come. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
I just love coming in after they've been here and seeing everything clean and tidy. It's such a good way to start the week.
Sometimes I wonder if they are magic.
I feel like it's the details that is everything. The being able to pick up on things that most people don't see or don't even think about.
House, business, or anything else, go with Magic Rags. The Enchanted Crew has you covered from ceiling to floor.
I had to pack up all my things. I had to leave my home. And I never knew where I was going next. It felt like I never even had a say. But then you came along.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you. Learn how you can help at nationalcasagal.org.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. What a beautiful view of historic Market Street here in the Gaffer District. And we are back broadcasting live in that Gaffer District from the Hesselson's studio. Comment from a viewer. Some things don't change in the Middle East. Back in the 60s and 70s, it was the Suez Canal and the same people fighting now. It's just the Strait of Hormuz. And how come we don't hear about crime dropping in cities the National Guard were deployed in? Because the media doesn't like that narrative. That's why the media won't cover it, because it's a positive on Trump. Now, today kicks off this, well, actually this weekend, kind of this escalation in, some are calling it a trade war with Canada. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said, "You're at war when you get attacked. We got attacked." Meanwhile, President Trump said on Truth Social, Canada wants the benefits of being a state without being one. Because no deal was reached, the U.S. made good on its threat to slap new 50% tariffs on $20 billion worth of Canadian goods. Canada's exports to the U.S. are typically worth $382 billion annually, while their new import taxes primarily target the forestry, alcohol, dairy, and textile industries. The impacted items also include everything from hockey sticks to dog leashes and fake mustaches. Canada hasn't yet released a list of goods it will tariff in response, but Carney pledged to match the U.S. levies dollar for dollar. He said Canada's tariffs would target similar industries. All right, there you go. Now, Canada is going to retaliate, is what they're saying, as the trade war escalates. Seeing some comments, sorry, you got a little distracted. I realized I didn't have our weather in, and I apologize. We'll have the weather in the next couple of breaks. Okay. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney announced retaliatory tariffs on the United States after walking away from a bad deal on trade. Negotiations between the neighboring countries broke down Friday in Washington, putting into force new 50% U.S. tariffs impacting about $20 billion worth of goods, or 5.5% of Canadian exports to the United States. United States President Donald Trump hit back at Canada, saying Canada wants the benefits of being a state without being one. They have also charged our great farmers for many years massive amounts of tariffs. No more. Trump had previously said Washington should be able to have a deal with Canada, citing his good relationship with Carney, but on Saturday that all crumbled. In recent days, the U.S. proposed new terms that were uneconomical, unfair, and undermined the net benefits for Canada and called into question the reliability of any deal, Carney said. We cannot accept what they've offered, and we will not give what they've asked. All right, there you go. Now, Mike Pence, former Vice President Mike Pence, said on State of the Union, the last thing we need right now as our economy is getting back on its feet is a trade war with Canada. Look, we hear about the issues of affordability right now, and as you know, I've taken a firm position since Liberation Day, tariffs, that fortunately the Supreme Court turned over, that American businesses and American consumers pay American tariffs. And I think the last thing we need right now as our economy is getting back on its feet is a trade war with Canada. My hope is, for the sake of American families and for the sake of the American economy, is that we're looking at here is negotiation and not confrontation in a trade war. All right, now let's talk a little bit about the midterms, because we know, and we've talked about this extensively, but we know what will happen if Democrats take control of the House and or the Senate. That is going to be a major issue. We know without a doubt they'll be pushing fraud impeachment charges. There'll be investigation after investigation. Well, this is interesting because last week, and really for quite some time, we've been talking about the lack of interest by the Democrats of having Chuck Schumer as their leader, and there's even been questions about Hakeem Jeffries. Well, it turns out Hakeem Jeffries met with Jared Kushner in a private meeting. President Trump's son-in-law and the man in line to be Speaker of a Democrat-led House discussed how Democrats and the administration could work together. Representatives Hakeem Jeffries, Democrat of New York and the minority leader, met privately in recent weeks with Jared Kushner, President Trump's son-in-law and top outside advisor, and discussed potential areas of common ground. According to 5 people with knowledge of the meeting, the rare engagement was held in a private space in New York City, offered up by a mutual friend of the two men, according to 2 people with knowledge of the meeting, and a third who was briefed on it. They and others were granted anonymity to discuss a meeting about which they were not authorized to speak publicly. So take it with a grain of salt. This is the New York Times. Through AIDS, neither man would comment on the session, which is described by one person with knowledge of it as a broad conversation on a range of topics. Still, its timing underscored that those around Mr. Trump were well aware of the likelihood of a Democrat-led House and trying to foster as much of a working relationship as possible before any change. Jeffries is in line to be the Speaker were Democrats to win the majority. Now, I think he should probably get the votes, but I think you'll have quite a few people that end up voting against him. And they won't like, Democrats won't like this one-on-one meeting that he had with Jared Kushner. Democrats and the president have been savaging each other on the campaign trail with increasing fury as the midterm elections approach and as Republicans are fighting to retain their thin House and Senate majorities. Mr. Trump has called Jeffries a thug, and at a May campaign event referred to him as a low IQ person who had inspired him to deride Democrats as the Democrats. Mr. Jeffries routinely suggests that Trump is not only extremely corrupt, but also vowing that Democrats would hold the crooks accountable if they won control. The private get-together was described by one of the people as a catch-up for Mr. Kushner and Mr. Jeffries. The two men have stayed in touch since they worked together on a criminal justice bill midway through Trump's first term. During the recent meeting, the pair discussed housing, immigration, and the high cost of living as a potential area of common ground. Kushner suggested that Jeffries should meet with the White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles. Two people with knowledge of the meeting said the likelihood of any compromises between the White House and Democrats on those issues seem very remote. Trump this year refused to sign bipartisan housing bill, in part because he said it was Warren-centric, referring to Elizabeth Warren. And he has repeatedly expressed openness to a deal with Democrats on immigration, only to back away from any such agreement. He successfully lobbied Republicans to abandon a bipartisan border security bill back in 2024. White House officials and aide to Mr. Kushner did not respond to a message seeking comment. In a statement, Jeffries did not acknowledge the meeting, but suggested that the only way Democrats would cut deals with this administration would be if Republicans were willing to come to their way on cost of living issues, his party's top priority. Throughout the Congress, Republicans have adopted a my way or the highway approach to governing that has failed the American people. In every conversation that we have with the Trump administration, we will continue to make it explicitly clear that the affordability crisis is not a hoax and nothing short of transformational policy change is acceptable. We are fighting for an affordable America. The question is whether Republicans will join us. All right, for whatever that's worth. Now, House Speaker, how am I doing? Oh, no, wow. Running late. Stay with us. We got to take a short break. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Firefighters responding to a fire alarm on a Wednesday found several safety violations.
I'm on scene right now where the commercial fire happened yesterday. As you can see, the building is in complete ruins.
They're pushing for an additional $250 million to the state budget.
Free local pantry here in her front lawn and painted posts.
The Vencino Group says it will cover hotel stays for residents through March 20th.
With the U.S. Department of State releasing a travel caution worldwide.
I have been hugely blessed to have all this, and I want to share it. Safety first, goggles, mask, because the sawdust can do a number on you. They're welcome to try any of my tools. I just don't want them hurt. We got to know what they're doing. Just a total blessing for me.
You know that children growing up with poor air quality have smaller lungs and higher rates of asthma than children that grow up with good air quality. And unfortunately, poor communities have poor air quality. IQ Air Foundation is working to change this. Today, the IQ Air Foundation provides filtration technology to schools with poor air quality through our Clean Air for Kids program. Our goal is to help over 50,000 school children every year breathe over 90% cleaner air indoors, helping to level the playing field, reduce barriers to learning, reduce sick days, and increase test scores. Mitigating poor air quality is key to environmental justice. Help Clean Air for Kids reach more children at IQAirFoundation.org.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Comment from Ken. Ken writes in this morning, I chuckled when you read that the media keeps falling for the Iranian shtick on feigning that they want to talk about peace. The legacy media may be dumb, but they're not stupid. They aren't fooled by the Iranians. They choose to play on any side that is against Trump. That's a very fair point. Especially as you lead up. I mean, let's face it. It's like we talked about with the New York Times reporter who said that they can't root or cheer for a victory in Iran for America because it would benefit President Trump. All right, House Speaker Johnson, Mike Johnson, was on the Sunday briefing on Fox News. And Peter Ducey asked, I want to ask you about something that is on the front page of the New York Times. We printed out. Hakeem Jeffries and Jared Kushner meet privately as midterm attacks fly. We've got it right here. President Trump's son-in-law and the man in line to be Speaker of a Democrat-led House. If you guys lose the majority, they were together. What did you think about when you saw that? Johnson said, I heard about it the first time this morning. I know Jared is a smart guy and he hedges bets, but I'm telling you what. You better not bet against the House Republicans. I've been around the country the last several weeks. This is going to come down to a race of about 19 seats that will decide the fate of the Republic. It's a contrast election, a contrast between common sense and crazy. I'm telling you, our base is going to turn out, and we're going to hold the House Republicans. So Ducey said, does any part of you think that the White House might be trying to figure out which Democrats they can work with if Democrats win the House? And that is why they would send Jared Kushner to meet with Jeffries. Johnson said, I don't know what that's about. I know Jared has interests in a lot of other things going on. He's not really directly involved in the administration, at least in the day-to-day at the White House. But I would tell you this. I've been on a nonstop tour. This is my pit stop, Peter, on a 30-day nonstop campaign fundraising tour. But look, I'm going to the places where the races are really tight, right? So the Cook Political Report says as of yesterday on election night, you could expect 211 Republican victories, 205 Democrat victories, 19 seats in the middle. Now we know what those 19 seats are. We've been looking at this for a year and a half. I love our candidates. I love our message. I love our fundraising advantage. I'm telling you, we're going to defy history and hold us to court. Now, there's some weird things going. How am I doing that time? When we come back, we're going to take a break here in just a moment, but I have to bring you this story first. After that, we're going to hear from Sergeant Du Bois from the Corning Police Department. They've got a really fun event coming up to raise money for Corning Special Olympics. It's Battle of the Badges. Corning Police Department taking on the Corning Fire Department. So we'll hear about that coming up in just a little bit. This is going to get a little confusing, but we've been talking about this. A politician named Dan Sullivan has chimed in on the bonkers Alaska Senate race over his namesake, urging voters to back incumbent Senator Dan Sullivan over his foe, Dan Sullivan. We talked about this. It's just a trick. This guy's never, he's a Republican somehow, though he always votes Democrat. He admitted that. So this guy's name's Dan Sullivan. He gets in the race just to confuse voters. Former Anchorage Mayor Dan A. Sullivan endorsed the incumbent senator in the highly competitive Alaska Senate race ahead of the primary last Tuesday, while noting the head-scratching situation over his name. As the original Dan Sullivan, I urge Alaskans to vote for Senator Daniel S. Sullivan. He's been great for Alaska. The ex-mayor's endorsement went viral later on Sunday after it was highlighted on social media by VoteHub. Alaska's Senate race is widely seen as one of the most competitive in the country, alongside the contests in Michigan, Maine, North Carolina, Texas, Iowa, and Ohio. While Alaska has historically been a red state, former Representative Mary Pelota has been remarkably competitive in most polls of the race. Currently, she has a 5.4 percentage point advantage over the incumbent senator in the latest tabulation of the last frontier states open primary last Tuesday, in which candidates from all parties competed and the top four advanced to the general election in November. Both Peltola and Senator Sullivan have been projected to advance to the general election, while the other Dan Sullivan, retired teacher Dan J. Sullivan, appears poised to make the cut as well, despite outlets refraining from calling it that due to the outstanding votes left to be counted. GOP critics have dubbed the retired teacher Decoy Dan and accused him of being a Democrat plant seeking to use his name to confuse voters in a remarkably competitive race. The former public school teacher admitted to the New York Times that he voted for the Democrat candidate for president during the past 3 presidential elections, but insisted he's a moderate Republican nonetheless. So didn't vote for Trump. So you're saying he voted for Harris, Biden, and Hillary, and yet he's not. But he considers himself a moderate Republican. I see. All right, enough on that. So ex-mayor Dan Sullivan backs Dan Sullivan to beat Dan Sullivan in a bonkers Alaska Senate race. All right. Now we're going to talk about the rise of the Democrat Socialists of America. We've got a few things there. A couple little things. I see the media is still attacking that poor aide to President Trump, Natalie. I've got maybe a couple things here, a couple things about New York State issues as well, but we're going to have a very busy 7 o'clock hour because we're going to be talking with Joseph Hernandez, candidate. You may recall I had him on once before, but candidate for comptroller. So we'll tell you, we'll hear from him in the 7 o'clock hour. Like I said, coming up next, Sergeant Du Bois from Corning. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Sunflower Days opens August 15th at Bradley Farms. Fall is in the air, and there's no better place to celebrate. Bring the whole family for our seasonal games, selfie stations, and make fall memories wandering through our giant corn maze. Bradley Farms is open daily 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., located at 1543 Maple Avenue in Elmira, New York. Come out to Bradley Farms for our Sunflower Days and the opening of fall fun.
Having a safe home is essential to many aspects of our lives. From a sense of community and safety, to physical and mental health, to economic security and independence. Most homes in our communities are not accessible and are not designed to accommodate the changes that come with age, including the risk of falling. The Older Adults Home Modification Program helps reduce the risk of falls, improves safety, and increases accessibility and independence. Through this program, Rebuilding Together works with older adults to provide no-cost preventative home repairs so our neighbors can safely age in place in the homes and communities they love. To learn more, visit rebuildingtogether.org/safeathome.
Meteorologist Brandon Weathers, cooler and a bit unsettled for the start of the new week. Isolated thunderstorms for our Monday, but a high about 10 degrees below average, ranging from mid-60s to low 70s from west to east. Rain will be mostly before 10 p.m., then partly cloudy skies tonight with lows in the mid-50s, high back in the low 70s Tuesday. We could have some shower potential, then drier by Wednesday, at which time we're back closer to average, but more wet weather.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Akam. We are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and in that studio this morning, we're talking about the Battle of the Badges. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Are you getting excited?
Yes, very excited.
So tell us about the Battle of the Badges. This is a charity event. It's Corning Police Department versus the Corning Fire Department. How did this all come about?
So the event is going to be hosted by the two different unions of both organizations, being the Corning Police Crystal City Benevolent Association and the Corning Local International Association of Firefighters. And then members of both of those unions will be participating in the event.
Oh, okay. Who challenged who? Who started it?
The police department obviously challenged the fire department.
Just making sure. How's the planning going? I mean, it's coming up, people see on the bottom of the screen, September 5th. How's the planning going?
Planning's going pretty good so far. Still trying to raise ticket sales and donations and the chicken barbecue tickets.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm going to put that up on the screen because what I did is I have the QR code. So you see there's 3 different QR codes you can scan for the game tickets. We'll get the prices and all that in just a little bit. The chicken barbecue, and to become a sponsor, because I know, and anybody that's ever been involved in a community charity event like this, it takes a lot of sponsors.
Yes, for sure. So there's a couple different ways. On the flyer, there is a donation QR code. Mm-hmm. The other thing you could do is you could reach out to us personally. What we're doing is we're using the Give Butter app so we can see on there who's donating what. Okay.
And I think I read, you're going to give them a big shout out on Facebook, and there's going to be mentions of sponsors, whether it's individual or a business can sponsor as well. Correct?
Yes, we'll post them on our Crystal City Benevolent Association page and as well as in person at the game.
And there's the full flyer, which I'm sure the QR codes work just as well. But I think this is going to be a fun event. Is this the first time that this is taking place, right?
Yes, this is the first one.
Oh, so this means a lot.
Yep. And hopefully if this does take off well and gets good traction, we can hopefully turn it into an annual thing.
Wouldn't that be great? And I like that it's going to be a fun game to watch. But as we said, there's chicken barbecue. There's going to be 50-50. It's just going to be one of those events that the community can really rally around.
Yes, for sure.
And the reason I say that, because all of the money raised, as you might have saw on the poster there, the money's going to such an amazing organization, the Special Olympics.
Yes, the Corning Painted Post Special Olympics. Mm-hmm. I think that'll be a really good heartfelt cause to donate the money to, and that people will rally around.
And that's exactly it. It's going to a great cause, and it's all fun and a great cause. And you talk about fun, you watch the Special Olympics, and boy, it just touches your heart. And I don't think I can stress enough, and the Corning Painted Post chapter gets it specifically, so it's staying local.
Yes.
That's great. Okay, so now there's a question everybody's wondering. How competitive is this going to get?
Well, I can tell you from the law enforcement side of it, it's going to be pretty competitive.
Is it going to be?
I can't speak for the firemen.
No. That's up to them.
Yeah.
So you don't have any spies watching their practices?
Can't say.
Okay, sorry. What does your practice look like? How often are you practicing?
We're trying to practice. We actually got one that we're putting together today.
Oh, okay.
Can't give out all our secrets, but it's going pretty good so far.
Secret location and all that. When you first brought this to everybody's attention, was it pretty easy to get people to sign up?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. How long is the practice going to take, you think? How much are you blocking off?
So it's not like you would schedule like a full regular practice. Just kind of a bunch of us getting around, going through what we got to go through to prepare. And
Now, do you think, because you said it's going to be competitive, do you think for equal time like they do in politics, do I have to reach out to the Corning Fire Department and have one of their members on? Out of issue of fairness?
Yeah.
Because now I'm curious to see how seriously they're going to take it. So your goal is to practice, just a few times before? You're going to try to set a regular schedule because it is coming up on September 5th.
Yeah, we're trying to get as many practices in as we can. Yeah. Obviously, we all work different shifts, so try to schedule different blocks to get different people there.
Do you have a full team? Did you have extras too?
We do have a full team. I believe we have 18.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So you guys really did want to take part in this. So as you said, I think I can see this myself becoming a yearly tradition.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Now, what are you going to wear? Uniforms? You getting uniforms?
Yeah, so we've ordered our uniforms.
Yeah. Top secret as well.
Well, you'll see that the fire department actually copied our idea. They stole it right from us.
No kidding.
Change the color.
Yeah, we're going to have someone on from the fire department. I think that's only fair. Okay, let me ask you this, because I think we've covered all our bases, because really, it's September 5th. It's at 6 p.m. How long do you think, it's been so long since I've been to a game, especially a charity game, how long do you think they should block off for the time?
So we're hoping to start having the chicken barbecues roll out at about 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Game's going to start at 6. That should give everybody enough time to get there, get their chicken barbecues, find seats, prepare for the game. The game we're anticipating anywhere from an hour and a half to 2.5 hours long, depending on how well the fire department can play.
How many times somebody rushes the mound?
Right. Right. It's going to be a full 9-inning game.
Okay.
So.
And that's at the Corning Cinderella Softball Field. What a great location, 12 Spruce Street in Corning. All right, the tough question. Predictions. You're going to make your prediction. What's going to happen?
Oh, police department's going to win.
But how much?
For sure.
How much?
That I don't know.
Okay.
That'll be a good.
So, okay.
Could be close.
Well, we'll open it up to viewers. They can text in. What do you think the final score is going to be? Who do you think is going to win? Well, let me say best of luck, and I'll tell you, if I do talk with the fire department, I'll pass it along to you so you have the insider info, okay?
The only other thing that I would like to add is right now the most important part for us trying to figure out how many people are there is the ticket sales and the chicken barbecue sales. So obviously we have the flyers going around. You can find them on Facebook. You can check the Crystal City Benevolent Association Facebook page. The links are there. The Corning Police Department website also has a link to Crime Watch, which has all the links and the QR codes there as well.
And I would also ask if anybody, because sometimes people have issues with the QR codes. If they reach out to me, text, I'll get them in touch with you, so that because I didn't even think about that part. You want to know how many people are going to show up.
Correct, especially with the chicken barbecue sales, so they know how many to have.
And also, we didn't mention this. I'm glad you went down this rabbit hole. Tickets right now, if they purchase them today to make it easier on you, it's cheaper. It's only $5.
Yep.
$7 at the door. So make it easy on everybody and buy your tickets today. Well, again, Sergeant, good luck, and I can't say congratulations yet, but good luck.
We'll take the congratulations.
All right. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
William Attar isn't like other attorneys. He eats, breathes, and dreams about car crashes.
He's too fast. He's going too fast. I knew it. Way too fast for the conditions.
You're fixing this? This should be totaled.
Boss, that guy is here again.
Icy road. Head on. 2 million. No question.
And one more thing William Attar does. He wins. Hurt in a car? Call William Attar.
You can just keep watching and scrolling, and the world will still feel like it's falling apart.
Widespread missile attacks.
Highest hospitalization.
Evacuation in the west.
Or you can take action by joining a movement that's creating real and lasting change instead. Partnering with communities around the globe to help uproot poverty and plant seeds of hope for a brighter tomorrow. Because at World Vision, we believe that no situation is hopeless. Join a movement that's changing the world for good.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. Jack predicts in the Battle of the Badge, 8-7, police win. Either way, it's going to be a close game. Well, thank you, Jack. I like it. All right. Abdul al-Assad, the far left, the Democrat Socialist of America candidate for United States Senate, who is a Muslim, became hot under the collar when he misunderstood comments from Vice President J.D. Vance, what he made about Sharia law and his own grandfather. The Democrat also pointedly attacked Vance's marriage. Al-Assad, this guy running for Senate in Michigan, he once argued not too long ago that criticism of Sharia law were rooted in white supremacy. I'd love to go back in time and tell my pawpaw that there's a man who claims to stand for working people who says not only should we have Sharia law, but if you criticize it, you're a white supremacist. That's not my peepaw's Democratic Party, my friends. In a social media post, al-Assad said, so do we think JD is taking Usha with him back in time to meet Peepaw or no? What does that have to do with anything? Now, al-Assad has refused to apologize for his vile remarks about Vance's wife and family. It's also important to note that al-Assad's campaign has confirmed he complies with Sharia law in his personal life, according to resurfaced comments from 2009. Al-Assad later responded to Vance's comments during an interview, stating he's painting this picture of going back in time to talk to his papa about me. Now, why is he pointing to me? Why is Donald Trump pointing to me? They're pointing to me to try and say somehow I'm less of an American than they are. What does this have to do with? I don't know, the color of my skin, how I pray. But the confusing thing about this is that we think there are some people who are more American than others because they can point to their pawpaw who was here earlier. And my question to him is simply, why is it? How do you look your parents-in-law in the eyes and say that somehow they're less American than you are? Because that's what he's implying here. Wow. Unhinged. Well, Anna Paulina Luna, representative from Florida, was on Sunday Morning Futures yesterday. And she was asked about the DSA. And she said, guest host Jason Chavez said there's a lot of information out there saying, hey, look it. The Republicans have $100+ million in the bank. Democrats are like in debt and have zero. I've long advocated and believed, yes, but you're not paying attention to the NGOs, these non-government organizations, who do seem to find a way to inject themselves into these elections. I'm not saying that's happening in this specific case, but I'm just saying in general, don't think for a moment that Democrats don't have the money. But it is impressive that she was able to win this race while being outspent 16-1. But how do you contrast that to an Ashley Moody and her vision for America? Luna said, well, I think Florida in general wants common sense. And I think Byron Donalds, especially bringing out the governor's down ballot race against, contrasting with David Jolly. I think that we're actually in a very good shape. But I actually predicted this, that Angie Nixon, being the nominee, at least in the state of Florida, will bring Republicans out to vote, specifically because of the fact that they don't want her radical policies. And I'd also like to remind people that the DSA platform is also very much anti-white rhetoric and racist. We have their nominee in, for example, New York, that made not just anti-white, but also anti-Semitic comments. And this is somehow supposed to be socially acceptable. So David Jolly, it's kind of funny seeing him squirm and try to distance himself from Angie Nixon. And also within the Florida Democrat Party, there was a big catfight that occurred between Angie Nixon and the Florida Democrat Party chair, Nikki Fried, ultimately saying, you're too radical. We're going to lose this race. I think that they're going to lose a race just straight up because of their policy positions and platforms. But I think nationally, what we are seeing and what everyone needs to pay attention to, There's no such thing as a moderate Democrat. As you saw in these Democrat primaries, the moderate Democrats are being poached by organizations like the DSA, and the funding mechanisms behind it are 100% China. Well, I think there are a lot of, we'll say establishment Democrats that are scared to death of the Democrat Socialists of America. That's why they caved to them. I mean, we saw it with Governor Hochul endorsing Bob Don. We actually have a really good piece, and I don't know if I hope I have a chance to get to it. But it's by, I think, New York Post. And it was, don't be fooled by Hochul's act. She's just as radical as Mom Donnie. Maybe we'll bring that up when we return, because I have an issue, another New York State issue as well I want to get to. Yeah, let's take a short break. Don't want to run too late. Getting ready to wrap up hour number 1. Kicking off the next hour, right from the jump, we're going to be talking with Joseph Hernandez. He's candidate for comptroller, so you won't want to miss that. All right, now let's take that short break. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Distracted driving is dangerous, but some people just can't seem to help themselves. There's the steering wheel propper, the sneak-a-peeker, the fast roller, the night-lighter. And it's not long until they become the fender-benderer, the got-a-ticketer, the veering off the road, the driver who kills someone. Enough with the phones already. Just put them down.
When a child is fighting a critical illness, one truth touches us all. Every child deserves a childhood. A wish sparks a ripple of hope that transforms communities far and wide. And when we grant wishes together, we create a movement of kindness, strength, and unity. Become a wishmaker today and be part of a journey that truly changes lives.
Meteorologist Brandon Weathers, cooler and a bit unsettled for the start of the new week. Isolated thunderstorms for our Monday, but a high about 10 degrees below average, ranging from mid-60s to low 70s from west to east. Rain will be mostly before 10 p.m., then partly cloudy skies tonight with lows in the mid-50s, high back in the low 70s Tuesday. We could have some shower potential, then drier by Wednesday, at which time we're back closer to average, but more wet weather possible.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Jackson's in a correction saying, either way, no matter what the score is in the Battle of the Badges, the Corning Painted Post Special Olympics wins. You're right. You're exactly right. Ken writes in, I Meet the Depressed. Welker interviewed Tim Scott. As usual, she worked as hard as she could to try and get Scott to say something bad about Trump and his administration. But to her obvious frustration, he continually schooled her on the failing of Biden and the Democrats. He also tried to educate her on how Trump is working to bring America back after the disastrous Biden administration worked to severely hurt America with horrible policies, like opening the borders and welcoming in millions of illegal immigrants and the Inflation Reduction Act that substantially increased inflation and fraud. Thank you, Ken. Sorry you had to watch that. Tim Scott is great, isn't he? I interviewed him years ago on the radio, and just a really down-to-earth guy. He had a book out at the time. I just can't remember what the book was, but that's when I interviewed him. Real nice guy. Okay, quickly, an announcement. The Southern Tier Animal Control, they've announced that they have had 5 to 8 dogs dumped in the town of Lindley. They're asking for help if anyone knows anything about these dogs. If you do, please contact Joel Pearson at STAC, which is Southern Tier Animal Control, 607-333-0563. 607-333-0563. So if you know anything about the 5 to 8 dogs that were dumped in the town of Lindley, and if you missed that phone number, you can contact me, text me on that bottom of the screen. I can get you in contact with Southern Tier Animal Control. Okay, as I had mentioned, New Yorkers who pay close attention to such things have long understood why Governor Hochul deserves her reputation for being the waffler in chief. Time and again, she's revealed herself to be the consummate weather vane, shifting her stance on important matters depending on which way the wind is blowing. For novices interested in seeing a prime example, I recommend an article about an interview the governor gave last week to the New York Times. True to the New York Times political tilt to the left, the resulting article is a puff piece to the extreme. So too is a longer Saturday article where the paper goes to great lengths to separate Hochul from City Hall's nasty and incompetent rollout of the second house tax. Despite the Times' obvious efforts to boost her, the lasting image it inadvertently leaves in both articles is that of a shape-shifting governor who pretends to be a moderate but is actually in sync with Comrade Mamdani and his socialist radicals taking over the Democrat Party. But when bad press follows, Hochul rushes to wash her hands of any and all responsibility. Her track record rips the artifice to shreds. Recall that she was the only top Democrat in New York to endorse Mamdani in both the party primary and the general election. Others, including Senator Chuck Schumer and Kirsten Gillibrand, were appalled by his anti-Israel bigotry and war on wealth. But Hochul voiced no worries and apparently had no second thoughts. She has actively encouraged and even helped to fund his explosion of free this and free that by sending him billions in state taxpayer funds. One result is that state spending under Hochul has rocketed upwards by about 30% since she took office 5 years ago. Make no mistake, her motive in helping the mayor is strictly business. Mamdani got 1.1 million votes in the city's general election, and if she can get most of those people to turn out in the fall, Hochul would probably defeat Bruce Blakeman by a significant margin. The Times doesn't mention the self-serving politics behind her actions, but instead focuses on portraying her as someone of a big sister and a grown-up in the room in her dealing with the novice mayor. It quotes her saying she privately scolded Mamdani several times, including after his latest rounds of attack on Benjamin Netanyahu. I encourage him to focus on the blocking and tackling of city government. That is where I believe the main focus should be. She said something similar happened after Mamdani outlandishly posted a video of himself taunting Ken Griffin, the billionaire founder of Citadel Securities. She claimed to have secretly told the mayor there's a better way to do it and suggested he single out Saudi princes and Russian oligarchs as more fitting targets. Meanwhile, with many homeowners now up in arms over the city's confusing and threatening letters about the new tax, Hochul again claims she reprimanded the mayor, this time about what she calls clumsy messaging. Absolutely, I said the rollouts had to be cleaned up and fixed. Despite the fact that many in the business community have warned that the tax will discourage high-end real estate buyers and builders, Hochul is not repentant. Inadvertently, the example she cites reveals her idea of what being a moderate means. Raise taxes and spending relentlessly, but appear to be doing it reluctantly, and be sure to do it completely and with a smile, or competently and with a smile. Hochul's self-puffery aside, the real gold in the interview comes in how the governor opens the door to yet another round of ruinous Albany tax hikes next year if she is reelected. The bombshell comes in the paragraph from the Times reporter Grace Ashford saying, quote, the governor said that she has no intention of raising taxes or implementing new ones in the coming year, but indicated that could change if there were unforeseen cuts in federal aid to New York, paging Bruce Blakeman. The Nassau County executive has been relentless in attacking Hochul's record on sky-high taxes and spending, and she's just revealed a plan to stay the course if she gets 4 more years. Her words demonstrate that the governor is effectively repealing her often repeated promise not to raise another round of broad income taxes on state residents by advertising that she is open to negotiations. That is a classic example of Hochul New Yorkers know. She proudly opposed congestion pricing before an election, but imposed it as soon as the votes were counted and congressional Democrats had managed to hold their seat. Recall, too, that last March, she firmly rejected the huge income tax hikes that Mamdani and the lefty legislature wanted to impose on affluent families and corporations in the city. New Yorkers can't pay anymore. We have to cut their cost of living, she declared. Job number 1 in this budget. The same day, she also said there are some patriotic millionaires who want to step up. Okay, cut me the checks. If you want to be supportive, the first step would be, okay, go down to Palm Beach and see who you can bring back because of our high tax base has become eroded. So she understands that New York's sky-high taxes have driven many wealthy and even middle-class families to Florida and other low-tax states, but rolled over when Mamdani pushed for more of the same. Her flip-flop came less than a month later when she revealed that she supported the two-house tax. She justified the change with a simple insistence that the rich could afford to pay more. It sounded like an approach straight out of Mamdani's playbook, as when she declared, they're all welcome to stay, they're here because this is a great city and has so much to offer. But those come at a cost, and I think it's fair to ask them to contribute. Notice how she soft pedals a new tax by calling it fair and a contribution. She would soon estimate it would yield $500 million a year for the city, an eye-popping sum that is hardly an insignificant contribution. In reality, her coded language what language. It's just window dressing designed to make it appear that there are big differences between her and Mom Donnie. There aren't. New Yorkers shouldn't be fooled. Thank you to Michael Goodwin. All right, that does it for hour number 1. Coming up, we're going to hear from Joseph Hernandez, so don't go anywhere. This is Frankly Speaking. We'll be right back.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
With the U.S. Department of State releasing a travel caution worldwide, firefighters responding to a fire alarm on Wednesday found several safety violations.
Free local pantry here and her front lawn and painted post.
When it comes to home improvement, Horseheads Do-It Center has you covered. Family-owned, locally trusted, and packed with everything you need for any project. From top-quality tools to kitchen and bath essentials, we make it easy. Competitive prices, expert advice, friendly service. Visit us at 124 North Main Street or online at doitbest.com/horseheads today.
The tide isn't just a gentle ebb and flow. It's a mighty force of change. Just like the tide shapes our shorelines, we can shape our planet's future and protect the world's oceans from its biggest threats. Help us turn the tide. Join Oceania's wave of ocean advocates who are making a difference in the world.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and we are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio. In that studio, welcome back, Joseph Hernandez. Great to see you.
Great to see you, Frank. Thank you so much for having me. Really, really appreciate it.
Well, how's the campaign going?
It's going great. You know, we have so much momentum. I mean, I think the state is ready for change, and we're quite excited. I've done a lot of traveling, you know, in upstate and the western parts of the state, and beautiful place, number one. Beautiful people. I mean, just amazing.
I know.
Amazing humans. The weather's a lot nicer this time around.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm enjoying a little bit better, but it's been great, and I feel so positive about the momentum. I think New York is ready for change.
I do too. And you're going to the Steuben County Fair. How excited are
you?
you?
I'm going to go eat some hot dogs, you know.
Yeah. Well, I know Joe Sempolinski's in the background, but he'll take you to the pig races.
Oh,
you got to see the pig races.
Wait. I want to milk a cow, I told him.
You got it all. One thing that I don't think we got the opportunity to talk about the last time you were here, and it concerns me, and I'm sure it concerns you, this rise of the Democrat Socialists of America.
Yeah.
And I know your background, you talked about it last time, but what do you feel when you see this rise?
You know, it's scary, honestly. I mean, it is a scary time in history for America. You know, I came from this environment. I came from the socialist country where, you know, they sell you the things that they're selling you today, but in reality, the outcome is, you know, government overtaking businesses like in the bodega bodega stores that are owned by the city in New York. You know, the vilification of people who own property and assets that are economically successful. You know, vilifying these people. That's part of the agenda. Part of any of these converted societies that have turned to socialism, and the outcome is always the same. There's always, you know, a lack of prosperity. There is human carnage. The game plays out like it's played out in history, and it's starting here in New York. You know, this is the center of capitalism, really the center that developed the rest of the country, and it's very scary. And we have to fight hard. Those that believe in America and the greatness of America and the fact that we are still that shining city on the hill, we need to fight, and that's why I'm doing this.
And I saw this at the New York Post. I'm sure you saw it as well. Morgan Stanley picks Dallas for expansion outside New York City, stepping up Wall Street exodus following Mondami's election. I mean, this is not going to be a rarity. This is what's the case.
No, it is, and it's really scary and sad. You know, we've had over the last couple of years almost $110 billion of capital exodus out of the state, which is crazy. The other thing people don't know is Wall Street pays our taxes. I mean, that is who supports the infrastructure in our state. Not only does Wall Street pay our taxes, but only about 799 companies pay the majority of our corporate taxes, and under 100,000 people pay almost 50% of our personal income tax. So you have a very localized tax base. We're vilifying them. We're driving them away as our budgets are exploding, and our fixed costs in these budgets are not budgets you can ratchet down easily. You know, if tomorrow we don't have that kind of budget, it's not like you can reduce the budget. You really have to do some significant financial accounting, to bring the state back in order. So it is in my opinion, it's a fiscal tailspin that we're in, and we're driving the tax base out. Very, very scary. These business guys are making the right decisions for their investors, but this is not good for the state of New York.
No. And as I mentioned at the beginning with the rise of the DSA, and I want to talk more about your background, because I think this is very remarkable. Tell us a little bit, if you don't mind, about yourself.
Well, yeah, look, I came here at the age of 7. I was born in Cuba, a little island of Cuba, about 1,300 miles south of here. You know, I came here at the age of 7. My dad was a political prisoner. He had developed encephalitis in prison and was in a coma. And after he was coming out of the coma, by the grace of God and by destiny, the Mariel boat lift was happening. And Fidel used to like to purge his prison, so he purged. He let my dad go, and along with us. So me and my 2 sisters and brother got on a shrimp fishing boat called the Belkis Marie. I still remember the name. And we crossed the Florida Straits in a storm. We landed in Navy Station Key West, and our life started. My dad washed dishes. My mom cleaned houses. Wow. We started from scratch. And but you know, they taught us to love America. That was you know the talk in our kitchen table, how great this country was, and we believe it. Like, I still believe it. And we had to pay back America for giving us an opportunity, and that's why I'm doing this.
What was it that made you decide to run? Obviously, we're going to talk about your opponent, DiNapoli, recently, give or take, winning his primary. We're going to talk about him in a second. But what made you decide that you're going to take this leap? Because it's not an easy job. Like you said, you're traveling all over the state. This isn't a small state. So why did you decide to run?
It's a tough job. I mean, I thought politics was easier than this, but it's a hard job. And look, I have a newfound respect for people who really sacrifice their personal lives for public service. It's really amazing, in my opinion. It should be shorter, it should be limited, and whatever now. But it is still impressive that people do this. Look, I am, again, I came from the socialist society. I saw what was happening in New York City specifically. I entered that race just to use it as a platform to educate people on the dangers of socialism and communism and really the greatness of America. I think we have been oversold on the notion that America has let us down. And in reality, if you look at America, what America's done, not only for Americans, but for the world, it's really impressive. And look, we put a man on the moon. We have advanced medicine. We have advanced electricity in terms of, how we store it, how we distribute it. The electric car, we sequence the human genome. These things all originated in this great country by our great, citizens. And we've transformed the world. I mean, the reason there's somebody in Africa today living beyond 30 years old with a cell phone is because of America, So we need to be more proud of that as a country, and we need to be reminded of the greatness of this country. And my role in running for politics is to make sure that we are reminded of that, but also to bring fiscal restraint in how we run the state. And we're driving the state into bankruptcy, and I hate to see that, and I want to do my part in whatever I can to do that, to fix that.
I'm glad you mentioned that. $250 billion budget. When you see that, what obviously a financial guy, money, you're looking at that. What do you think of that when you look at that budget?
I mean, we have to compare it because it's so massive numbers. We get lost in numbers, but $277 billion. I did a ranking of expenditures by countries.
Okay.
Forget states. I did it by countries, right? And it turns out New York ranks number 13th. Our budget's bigger than Israel's budget, than Poland, than Sweden, and we don't even have an army or a navy or embassies. We only have our citizens in this great state to support. It is completely irrational. That is the only word you can find to address the mammoth budget that we're dealing with in the state. And, we have a Medicaid budget that's $127 billion. We have a credit card bill. We owe the state directly owes $60 billion, which is about to balloon to almost $100 billion. So every month, the state pays about $631 million in credit card fees, i.e., your interest and your principal. That's about to balloon to $1 billion a month, which is before we do a pothole, before we take care of a teacher's payment, before we take care of a police officer. It is a fiscal catastrophe in the making if we don't do something about it.
And I was just talking, I know you know him well, Assemblyman Phil Palmisano had him on the program on Friday, and we were talking about $1.2 billion in subsidies to Hollywood. And yet we can't afford to pay, like you said, potholes, things like that. Why?
I mean,
what is this?
The Hollywood one is the least of our worries.
Oh, yeah, I guess you're right. I guess you're right.
That one, I can't wait that we would take care of all the other BS.
Right, I guess you're right.
I mean, I take care of the fraud and abuse, and what we do with the MTA, and those things are, those are the big ones, right? The Medicaid fraud, the Medicaid abuse.
And you say fraud, you're exactly right. I mean, how much of this money is just fraud, do you think? I mean, that's why you want the job as comptroller, right?
Yeah. I'm a quantitative guy, so I did some modeling on these numbers, and when you look at the Medicaid budget, I said earlier, it's about $127 billion, and you use standard metrics of fraud that exist across the nation. Fraud in prescription, fraud in CDPAP, fraud in home health care, fraud in the consumables part of Medicaid. I calculated that Medicaid is stealing, or people are stealing about between $10 and $12 billion of our hard-earned taxpayer dollars in abuse and fraud, and nobody's doing anything about it. That's the frustrating part. Look, if people were chasing these people that were stealing from us aggressively, you'd be like, that's just okay. They're doing the job, but right now these people are asleep. For example, the Attorney General's office that has an office focused on Medicaid fraud specifically, and these are offices that are funded by the federal government. They typically get about $60 million. And the state of New York historically got $60 million to support these prosecutors. There's 270 people sitting in this office at the Attorney General's office. They've only prosecuted 9 cases in the last year.
Where do I send my resume?
Insanity. And I also did another analytical analysis on our whistleblower. We have every year we get last year we had about 7,000 whistleblowers. These are people who work in state government. They see fraud. They pick up the phone. They do the right thing, right? They pick up the phone. They call the powers that be, including Tom DiNapoli's office. And out of all those, the only reporting, because we don't even report what we prosecute, one year we reported 14 cases. The next year, 22 cases. And this is after reporting 7,000 incoming calls, people saying there is fraud. And let me tell you, nobody knows fraud better than the people internally in these systems. And we need to incentivize them. So part of what I want to do is make sure that we incentivize these people to do the right things and compensate them. It's typical. The Attorney General office is able to compensate people when they whistleblow. We should be able to do that at the Comptroller's office. And I'm going to change the culture to make sure that we bring a more honest government. We have a government we don't trust. And let me tell you, failures in every government, when you look at history, all the way from the Roman times, when you start losing trust in government, that is the decay of a government, and we're in danger of that.
I couldn't agree more, and I'm glad you brought up Thomas DiNapoli. He's your opponent. I want to talk about him for just a little bit, because this is a guy that has been around for about as long as I can remember. And I saw, and I know we talked about this, I think last time, no one even really knows who he is. But he's got a lot of power. And he's not
very powerful role,
and not wielding it. When we talk about the budget, can we talk about that when we come back? Can I take a break?
Absolutely.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
Firefighters responding to a fire alarm on a Wednesday found several safety violations.
I'm on scene right now where the commercial fire happened yesterday. As you can see, the building is in complete ruins.
They're pushing for an additional $250 million to the state budget.
Free local pantry here and her front lawn and painted posts.
The Vencino Group says it will cover hotel stays for residents through March 20th.
With the U.S. Department of State releasing a travel caution worldwide.
I had to pack up all my things. I had to leave my home. And I never knew where I was going next. It felt like I never even had a say. But then you came along.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you. Learn how you can help at nationalcasagal.org.
Let me ask you, does it matter if the law firm you hire focuses on motor vehicle accidents? Has the experience to take on big insurance? Will go to court to win? Has won over $1 billion for their clients? If that matters to you, come to William Mattar. We are the largest motor vehicle accident firm in the state. Call William Mattar for the recovery you deserve. Hurt in a car, it matters who you hire.
Meteorologist Brandon Weathers, cooler and a bit unsettled for the start of the new week. Isolated thunderstorms for our Monday, but a high about 10 degrees below average, ranging from mid-60s to low 70s from west to east. Rain will be mostly before 10 p.m., then partly cloudy skies tonight with lows in the mid-50s, high back in the low 70s Tuesday. We could have some shower potential, then drier by Wednesday, at which time we're back closer to average, but more
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Hagan. We're broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and live in that studio, Joseph Hernandez, running for New York State Comptroller. We were talking before break about, I guess the label would be fair to say career politician, right? I mean, that's pretty much his whole job, his whole life. Thomas DiNapoli, he's your opponent. What do you think of Mr. DiNapoli?
Look, I mean, my campaign manager hates when I say this, but from all I hear, Tom is a nice guy. I mean, that is the truth. I mean, I don't want to take.
That's going to be on ads.
I don't want to take anything from, my mom always said, be honest about people. Yeah. And but the reality is this is not a job for a nice guy. I mean, you're supposed to shout at people and say, don't take that money, or no, you can't have that money. So it's not necessarily the best quality, but look, the reality is he's been there for 40. He's been in politics for 40 years, his whole career. He's been in this particular role for almost 20 years. A lot of people don't even know who he is, and that's ironic because you're supposed to be the watchdog. You're supposed to be the loudest guy in the room in terms of making sure that taxpayer dollars are deployed correctly. That says a lot about him. I would argue that you have to live through people's struggle to understand what they go through. And if you haven't had the challenges of meeting payroll, if you haven't had the challenges of making your mortgage payment in your factory or even on your restaurant, or even in your house, I mean, those are things that are humanistic that you need to understand to be able to make the right decisions for people. Right. And I think I am, again, against career politicians. I think it's contrary to the original thesis of our founders. If you really read a lot of the early works by our founders, they believed in this concept called the citizen politician. Right. And that is that, the farmer and the lawyer and the doctor and the bread maker would take time from their jobs to serve their communities in public service, and then they would return back. Right. And that is the concept that America was really built upon. And now we have diluted that. We have, in my opinion, bastardized that by allowing these people to be career politicians and not have a sense of reality. And I think it needs to stop. And I think Tom DiNapoli is a perfect example of that. He doesn't know anything outside of government. And I, by contrast, I know what the challenges are of building businesses, of paying employees, of paying, taxes, of all the challenges you face as a business owner. And I think those skill sets are important in government, and I'm proud of that.
And you've never been in politics?
No, I've never been in politics. This is my.
What do you think of it so far?
It's a crazy, crazy business. But you know what? I think it's such an honor to be able to do this again. I came from a totalitarian government where you don't get to pick your leaders. Yeah. At the end of the day, come November, at the end of the night, November 3rd, people are going to say, I want this person to run this part of government or this one, and I think that's another one of these things that we take for granted in America. We don't vote enough. We don't appreciate the process enough. But it's a very sacred process that I'm so proud to be part of.
And we've got a lot more to talk about, but we've been talking about Bruce Blakeman, of course, quite a bit. And
Bruce is a great guy.
Great
So
guy.
proud to be campaigning with him.
I know, and the fact that they've tried everything they can do to take away the matching funds.
Yeah.
How does that work in this campaign? Like, can people? It would help a lot if they donated to your campaign, right?
Yeah, I mean, look,
just a little bit.
Yeah, we're not as we're not as visible as Bruce, who's, by the way,
everywhere.
If someone doesn't vote for Bruce, they need to check their head a little bit, because Bruce is the most logical, commonsensical politician I've ran into, and what he's done for Nassau County, look, he's made it the safest county. He's hired almost 1,000 cops there. He's just dealt so well with the budget. It's a county that's doing well financially. There's economic development companies move there. He builds. So what he's done with Nassau County is extraordinary. And if he only does half of that in New York, we will be the most relevant state in the country. So I'm proud to be campaigning with him, and I think New York needs him more than anything. But as it relates to, what was the question?
The matching funds.
Because, the matching funds,
yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's why I think Hochul is scared, because they keep trying to take away his matching funds, but this is the way the system works. And I know that, listen, this is not an easy job,
Yeah. Well, we are, Republicans are outnumbered in terms of dollars here. I mean, and I think it's because if you really look at the contributors of these political campaigns, they're all, in my analysis, and they're all pay to play.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you look at the numbers, for example, Tom DiNapoli has gotten almost $800,000 from lawyers that do work for the fund. I mean, it's just completely unethical.
Yeah.
If you look at Kathy Hochul, it's no different.
Yeah.
She gets a lot of contributions from the casinos, who are dependent on her decision making to make sure they have casinos in the state. So there is complete, pay-to-play games here, and I think that's wrong. I'm not a fan, sort of conceptually, as a fiscal conservative, of matching, because I think
we agree, but that's the rules.
Yeah,
you got to play by the rules.
But it's an option that's on the table, and we have to take it because we are outnumbered as a political party, and the fact that they play politics, to prevent us from getting that is really shameful, but. It's a dirty business, and we just got to go in the pigsty and out wrestle them. That's all we got to do.
Well, that's my long way of asking a question, to tell people to donate to you.
Yes, please.
I was trying to be coy about it.
I raised hundreds of millions of dollars on Wall Street. I have a hard time asking people to donate on my campaign.
Isn't it
weird?
I
don't know why, but I greatly appreciate anything you guys can do to my campaign. We're very close to the match, which is effectively $6 for every $1 that gets contributed. Please visit my website, hernandezforny.com, and contribute if you feel so obliged to support my endeavors to be your next comptroller.
That's right. Isn't that funny? It is weird to ask, isn't it? Yeah. But I wanted to ask you, and this, maybe people are saying, this isn't a normal question for a comptroller, but I've got to ask. I know you're going to the Steuben County Fair, and one of the great booths up there is Scope, and they're so pro Second Amendment. So I don't know if you've been asked this question, but where do you stand on Second Amendment? What is your feeling about essentially the attack on gun rights?
Yeah, no, I am probably the most vocal proponent of the Second Amendment, and the top of the ticket. I really am. Very, very pro Second Amendment. I believe that that it is a fundamental right to Americans. I mean, if it was a concept that was very clear, in my opinion, I think the courts have validated this position. It is something to trust government. It is another thing to trust government and then arm your citizens. I mean, that is as free as a democratic process as you can envision. So I really believe that that's important, not only for sort of the basic right, but also for your self-protection and your protection of your family. I'm a gun owner. I think it's a fundamental right, and
absolutely.
And we have 2 million gun owners in the state of New York. They should have the continued right to own guns
and get out and vote.
And get out and vote. I mean, they need to get out and vote because look, their rights are being challenged. Thankfully, the courts have been in our favor in the last couple of sessions, which has been great. So I think the momentum for more rights in New York will continue. But look, if you look at DiNapoli, I mean, he's done some things in the.
We got someone stolen behind you.
Got some fans behind me. If you look at some of DiNapoli's action, against gun owners, I think gun owners need to remember them because, he wants you to forget them. But in 2018, he did something really very anti-Second Amendment. And what he did was he called all the major banks on Wall Street that process credit cards and said, I want you to treat ammunition purchases and gun purchases like you treat pornography and drugs. Wow. Effectively creating a big hurdle for rejection, for credit card processing rejection. And he used the power of the fund, because he was investors in most of these banks, to basically deploy that strategy. And it worked to some extent. I mean, I think it is something we can't forget as gun owners. I think it really talks to his ideology against the right of citizens of New York to own guns. And I am the contrary to that. So I hope our gun owners hear me. I hope they get out and vote. Yes. I need them to get out and vote. Vote for the ticket, because we truly believe in our Second Amendment, and it is a war that continues, and it's a war that we need as many advocates as we can in Albany, and I'll be one of them.
That's great. Another thing that I was looking at your website, and this is something I think that's been kind of overlooked. Or I shouldn't say overlooked. The media just dropped it, which was all those the misregistration of voters in New Jersey, and and I know that you've been kind of outspoken about this, and you called for an emergency audit on New York, because we have the same company, we're using the same company, and I think that's impressive that you said, let's do this audit. Tell us a little bit why you took that stance.
Well, look, I think again I come back to the sanctity of the democratic process involves your trust in government. Right. So you got to trust that your vote counts, and you got to make sure that you are diligent about that. And I would argue that government needs to ensure that we have processes that never bring that into question, because in societies where that comes into question, that's where decay starts. Right. So I think we have been so negligent in ensuring that the people that are voting are supposed to be voting and have the right to vote. Right. And so I think we need to be more diligent about that. I mean, I criticize Mondami's position on this, because in New York City, to get a job, to shovel snow, a part-time job, you got to bring 3 IDs. To go to the bodega store that's now owned by the government, or soon to be owned by the government, and buy eggs, you have to bring an ID. Right. But to vote, you don't have to bring an ID. No. And I'm a perfect example of that. In the last election, I came up to the voting area when I'm registering, and I handed my ID like I thought you're supposed to.
Should, right?
I forget every year. I do the same thing. Yeah. I hand the ID, but they said no. Please put that away. Don't even show it. Right. They almost got offended that I showed my ID. So I think that there's something fundamentally wrong with that. And you saw what happened in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. I think New York, we need to assess. How we run the voting, and the comptroller's office does have some oversight of it, on this. Anything that is financially related to the voting process, the comptroller should audit. And I've been a proponent that we should audit not only that, but also the voter rolls. We don't want to get into the territory of where the election boards really have jurisdiction, but I think there should be oversight and scrutiny, and we should welcome it. If there's honesty in the process, why be so scared? Why be so scared about really opening the hood? And I think we should bring more scrutiny to it, because I got to tell you, we cannot bring any more doubt into our electoral processes. I think it's dangerous for America.
I agree. And isn't that, going back to DiNapoli's quiet on this, we're talking about Medicaid, potential fraud, all these things, and no one knows who he is. What is he doing behind the scenes?
I think it's just,
sending out a lot of press releases.
I with all due respect to him, I call him furniture, because that's really what he does. He hasn't done anything. He hasn't really. He's been quiet. I mean, he's been really quiet. And I think he doesn't like to ruffle feathers, and that's why he's been in power for so long, and that's why everybody thinks he's a nice guy, because he doesn't ruffle feathers. And look, there's been instances where he's seen real abuse of the taxpayers. For example, they in the last budget, not this one, but the one before, they slid in there $10 million to support Letitia James' legal fund.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it was just a line item. Yeah. How do you not, as a comptroller, if you have a good moral compass, say that is wrong? Right. That is not the best use of our taxpayer dollars. How do you allow these things? How do you allow Medicaid to continue to balloon like this, and know that there's fraud and abuse? He knows there's fraud and abuse. Why not do an audit of Medicaid? Why not do an audit of MTA, another agency that abuses our taxpayers like that, like there's no tomorrow? I think it's nobody. He doesn't want to ruffle feathers, and I was quoted as saying that if I'm elected, I'm bringing a blowtorch to Albany, figuratively, just to be clear. But I am going to set that place on fire because, honestly, the abuse has gone for way too long. And it stops on January 1st, 2027 when I'm elected.
And that kind of leads into my next question. You kind of just said it, really. But what is your vision, how you would run the comptroller's office if elected?
Well, I'm going to change it up quite a bit. I'm going to do fundamentally three major things. One is I am going to redo how we make investments in the sense that right now what we do is what the Napoli does is he hands out money to Wall Street managers to effectively manage the pensioners fund. And by the way, this money belongs to the pensioners. It's not politicians' money. It's not the state's money. It's people who gave their lives to the state. So we have to be respectful of that. And we have to do the right thing. We have a fiduciary duty to protect their money. And a fiduciary duty is a duty higher than just a standard duty. It is almost a sacred duty that you have to basically execute by. And so we have to be honorable to that duty. And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to bring in investors to do allocations, much like CalPERS does. So CalPERS does this. Ontario's Teachers Unions Fund does this, and what it does is it reduces the fees. So we right now we pay Wall Street. He reports about $800 million. The reality is about $1.8 billion because he's not calculating carried interest, which is a significant portion of how people make money. And then he's also allocating money to DEI. I mean, so about $35 billion of the allocatable money, he's handing out based on what you look like, not on whether you're a good investor or not.
Right.
So we're going to change that up. We're going to bring in in-house investing, an in-house investing team that's going to focus on allocating capital the right way, much like a Wall Street fund would do. Right. And then the second thing we're going to do is we're going to bring in the most aggressive fraud strike team you've ever imagined. So these are going to be sharp forensic accountants that have made their career at looking at numbers and following numbers. We're going to bring in people who know how to build prosecution files against financial crimes. This is a very area of expertise that's necessary. And then we're going to use big data. We're going to use artificial intelligence. We're going to use technology to track every dollar when it leaves your pocket and it ends up either in the right payment of the right vendor or it ends up in fraud. We're going to figure it out. And then if you have stolen from the people of New York, don't go very far because we're coming after you.
Beautiful.
And then the third thing, my third thing is we're going to invest in New York because we're sitting here in Corning, which is an area that's transformed humanity really. And you think about what happened here in Corning and what Corning did for really the Industrial Revolution, and subsequently has been astronomical. But we have ignored these regions of the state. So I'm going to set aside $10 billion. And we're going to call this fund the Empire Opportunity Fund. And the only purpose of this fund is to make sure that we get returns for our pensioners that are higher than standard, and we're going to make sure that we bring in companies that are going to generate the next tax base, generate good jobs for our citizens, so that to make sure that we compete in the next 100 years or so. And that involves investing in artificial intelligence, advanced robotics, in aviation, in nuclear, and the things of the future. And we're going to do that in a fiduciary way, but we're going to kill two birds with one stone.
Before we go, I know we mentioned Bruce Begman earlier, but how's the team look? You guys are out there working hard.
Listen, we are grinding it out. I mean, we are a coalesced team. This team is top of the ticket. We all have a very identical mission, which is to save this state. We all preach that the state is in turmoil because it is, and we need to turn around the state for our kids, and we all believe that. We're doing it for the right reasons. We're not, we're not here for grandeur. We really want to save the state. We're working hard, and I think the message is to all New Yorkers: the cavalry is coming. The cavalry is coming.
How many miles do you think you put on your car?
Oh, I don't know.
We don't have to bring that up.
I have to change the oil again now. I don't know. My team. We travel. I have a great team. I have, these, and it's inspirational because they're young patriots. They're people who really believe in America, and they're passionate, and they're, So I haven't lost hope in America as long as our young people really believe in the concept of America. So these folks travel with me everywhere, and they grind it out harder than I do, and it's just beautiful. to go to all these places, meet these great people, tell our story, and really, see the greatness of this great country and this great state. I mean, we are still that shining city on the hill, as I say. We are an extraordinary society. We're an extraordinary country, and we mustn't forget that.
That's right. Before we go, how can we help? We mentioned earlier, donate, go to the website.
Yes. I mean, listen, there's a couple things you can do. Obviously, money helps, so go to our website, hernandezforny.com. Donate whatever you can. Secondarily, tell your friends, because, nothing travels better than word of mouth. Mm-hmm. But more importantly, get out and vote. Tell your friends to vote. Get your family members to vote. Voting is what's going to drive this, and if we do well in this region of the state, we will win, and better days will be ahead for New York.
That's right. Well, best of luck. I hope we can talk again before Election Day, and enjoy the fair.
Thank you so much.
I'm jealous.
I'm so excited. Yeah.
I'm jealous.
Well, you're welcome to come. Maybe I'll bring you out.
I was already up there.
All right,
one day's probably enough. No,
thanks
for being on the show.
Real pleasure.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Watch news from the Twin Tiers and catch local events on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Give away your swimming pool time at Hesselson's for next year. With Hesselson's Easy Layaway Plan, only $500 down guarantees you this year's price and gets you on an early installation date for next year. But hurry in, as next year's list will fill fast. Same great pricing, same great service, same great installation. Come in early so you can enjoy your new swimming pool all summer long. Hesselson's, your locally owned and operated swimming pool store since 1955, will always be there for you today, tomorrow, and for years to come. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Make this summer event at Chilson Wilcox Reloaded. Drive home a 2026 Ram 1500 Express and save over $10,000. Step up to a 2026 Ram 1500 Bighorn Crew 4x4 and save over $13,000. Plus, it comes with the best powertrain warranty in the business, 10 years or 100,000 miles. Save over $8,000 on a 2026 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo X. And as always, get the highest trade-in values, period. Always save more at Chilson Wilcox. Selling cars a different way, the right way. Hurry in. When they're gone, they're gone.
United Way fights for the health, education, and financial stability of every person in every community. Will you?
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. We want to thank Joseph Hernandez for being on the program this morning. Give us all that time. Let's go to some viewer comments. Knowing Upstate is a fracking gold mine, what's preventing Upstate from becoming the 51st state? We don't need Wall Street or New York City. I went to Joe Hernandez's website to ask about the above, but was disappointed that there was no place for input or questions. Oh, interesting. Comment from a different viewer. All this money being wasted. Why doesn't this guy get our local senator and assemblyman to do a mailing to all the people in the state? If the people know of the waste, maybe they would vote the right way. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. I can sum up Joseph Hernandez in one word. Wow. He definitely needs to be back at some point. Yeah, that would be the second time we've had him on in studio, as a matter of fact. But I'm sure he will before November. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning to you. I'm so glad that Mr. Hernandez mentioned that the founding fathers never wanted career politicians, but rather you did your service and then went back to your real vocation. Thank you very much. Coming from a different viewer, Joseph also makes a fabulous statement about the Second Amendment rights. Where can I get signs for him? I wonder at the same place here in Elmira. I haven't seen signs for him yet, but if I hear, I'll let you know. And finally, Steve writes in, says, good morning. Good morning, Steve. Did you guys cover what happened at the Indiana Fever Chicago game last night with Enos Kanter, Freedom, and Cloud? No, I hadn't yet had an opportunity to, but former NBA player Enos Kanter Freedom was removed from last night's game between the Sky and Fever in Chicago after a heated interaction between the ex-Hooper and Sky guard Natasha Cloud. Freedom has thrust himself in the ongoing discourse surrounding trans athletes in women's sports, which has set off a firestorm in the WNBA after Sophie Cunningham told ESPN she wanted to protect, quote, young girls in sports who shouldn't have to go against biological men, end quote. It's not entirely clear what set off the situation, but during the third quarter, after Cloud made a layup, she started to say something toward the baseline where Freedom was sitting. Cloud's Sky teammate and team personnel had to hold her back, and Freedom was seen on the broadcast getting up out of his seat and walking toward Cloud with a smirk on his face and arms outstretched. He also had a shirt on that said women, noun, adult, human, female. Arena security quickly got involved and moved Freedom from the seat into a spot behind the basket where it seemed he was informed he had to leave. Sky coach Tyler Marsh said Cloud didn't want to be a distraction for the team. I told her she wasn't. I told her we all embrace her as someone that protects our team and protects people that need to be protected. And so Tash is always going to stand on that, and we stand for her. Cloud met with team and league security after the game. She did not speak with the media, the AP reported. So there you go. Freedom, who has declared himself eligible for the WNBA draft, saying that he identifies as a woman, was booed by the crowd as he was removed from the arena and appeared to try to argue with security before holding up his shirt that read women, woman, noun, adult, human, female. Video in the lobby of the arena showed Freedom arguing with uniformed officers from the Chicago Police Department, and he could be heard claiming, "I'm supporting women, and that is the reason why they're kicking me out. It is unacceptable." So thank you for bringing that to our attention, Steve. We're running a little bit late. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. Stay with us.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen. Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
Lease a brand new 2026 Chevy Equinox 1LT all-wheel drive with Gene Lease Loyalty or Conquest Bonus for only $389 a month for 36 months. Make car buying simple. Drive your deal at Simmons Rockwell Chevrolet in Bath.
Walking Mess is so uplifting. You see how the community rallies around us saying, we're going to fight this thing with you no matter how long it takes or what it takes.
I love the energy at Walk MS. It is community, it is family. I can ride that high for the rest of the year.
A cure is on the line for me.
A cure is on the line for all of us.
Meteorologist Brandon Weathers, cooler and a bit unsettled for the start of the new week. Isolated thunderstorms for our Monday, but a high about 10 degrees below average, ranging from mid-60s to low 70s from west to east. Rain will be mostly before 10 p.m., then partly cloudy skies tonight with lows in the mid-50s, high back in the low 70s Tuesday. We could have some shower potential, then drier by Wednesday, at which time we're back closer to average, but more.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Boy, we're moving fast. We're talking about the rise of the Democrat Socialists of America. Bill Maher over the weekend on his program quipped that a candidate's public faith is welcome as long as that faith isn't Jewish in the Democrat Party. The segment aired after CNN anchor Dana Bash discussed Texas Democrat James Tallarico's outspoken Christianity during a segment on Real Time, saying he wears his faith on his sleeve in a way Tallarico believes could help him. Well, in the Democrat Party, as long as that faith isn't Jewish, you're good, Bill Maher said. Maher then interjected, "Yeah, I said it because it's true." Pew Research polling shows 80% of Democrats and Democrat-leaning independents hold an unfavorable view of Israel, up sharply from 53% back in 2022. So Democrats and Democrat-leaning independents, 80% unfavorable opinion of Israel. At the same time, 41% of Republicans and Republican-leaning independents surveyed hold a negative view of the Jewish state. Wow. 58% of those right-leaning voters have a positive view. Joe Rogan, how are we doing on time? Wow, I already got to take a break. I spent so much, and it was worth it. I spent so much time with Joseph Hernandez that I didn't realize I was running this late. But it's a rare occasion when we agree with Bill Maher, but he's right. There's only one party where American Jews can be proudly Jewish and loudly pro-Israel, and that's the Republican Party. I'm not sure. I think that was a statement from the Republican Party, from Sam Markstein, Republican Jewish Coalition chair. Democrats prove it again and again, from Kamala Harris passing over Josh Shapiro in 2024 to the rise of communist elected officials who traffic in anti-Semitism in halls of power across the country, he continued. The Democrat Party is being remade by its radicalized base, and party leadership continues to fecklessly whistle past the political graveyard as American Jews flee. Joe Rogan said that Democrats are full of, we'll say, baloney, because they won't specifically specify which woke 1.0 stance went too far. Because remember, that's what AOC trying to kind of brush off these radical comments from the past by saying, oh, it's just woke 1.0. If you really thought to fund the police and then you just described it to woke 1 was crazy, well, how did it get you? Because it didn't get me. How did it get you? How did defund the police get you? There's a way out of it then, but they have to be honest. If you want us to take you seriously, you have to say how you blanked up. You have to say how they screwed up, and you have to say that what you really think about it. You have to be honest, and you have to be authentic. We have to know that you are embarrassed by your choices, and that kind of went with it with the hive. If you don't say that, then you're full of baloney, we'll say. You're going to get more and more baloney over time, and that's how politicians get soured. Think about what would have happened if Kamala had won. Would AOC have been talking about woke 1.0 was crazy, or would that have been a continuation of, well, look, we put these policies out, people like these policies. How much of this is a reversal of position because it wasn't effective? Media Research Center's Tim Graham said, I don't believe the Democrats want to be backing away from wokeness, especially now that they're sharing a big tent from people who want to empty the prisons. They're just less confident than they were in 2020, when they could proclaim that race riots are rebellions and violence was an acceptable method to create the social change they wanted. It was like political Drano. Democrat consultant and former Judiciary Committee Minority Chief Counsel Julian Epstein said there is not much difference between woke 1 and woke 2. They both involve the commodification of grievance and rage and the packaging of lunatic ideas that do little to help voters to seek to make them permanent wards of the state. This is completely different from Democrats of the 90s who would proclaim the U.S. as the best opportunity machine ever invented and then try to give people agency. A weird way of putting that. All right, we got to take another short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back, Frankly Speaking, here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Google reviews rank Ferrario Ram the highest customer experience Ram dealer in our area.
Get a new 1500 Ram Ferrario priced at 18% off. Express, Warlock, or Bighorn. Ferrario priced at 18% off. With America's best full-size truck powertrain limited warranty, 10-year, 100,000 miles. 2026 Ram 1500, 18% off. Take your pick.
Make this the summer event.
Visit Ferrario Ram in Elmira for your Ram 1500.
Do you know that children growing up with poor air quality have smaller lungs and higher rates of asthma than children that grow up with good air quality? And unfortunately, poor communities have poor air quality. IQ Air Foundation is working to change this. Today, the IQ Air Foundation provides filtration technology to schools with poor air quality through our Clean Air for Kids program. Our goal is to help over 50,000 school children every year breathe over 90% cleaner air indoors, helping to level the playing field, reduce barriers to learning, reduce sick days, and increase test scores. Mitigating poor air quality is key to environmental justice. Help Clean Air for Kids reach more children at IQAirFoundation.org.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. A little bit more about this Enes Kanter freedom. I guess he gave an interview where he said, Sophie Cunningham shot a 3 and I put my hands up to celebrate. Literally a couple possessions later, Natasha came back and started screaming and yelling at me and said she's not going to sleep with you. I was like, I'm not trying to sleep with her. I'm just here to protect women and support her. And then obviously after that, she started yapping and she started walking towards me, and literally I just got up and then I was like, I'm here to protect women. That's all. She started to yell. She started to use some very heavy language. She started to actually cuss. I was very shocked that there were a lot of kids, that were a lot of teenagers at that game. I just cannot believe that she was cussing and using those words in front of all these kids. I'm sure she's loved in Chicago, and many kids are idolizing her and stuff. But that's not how a WNBA athlete should react. Whew, getting heated out there. Okay. Boy, the media and their bias. Maureen Dowd had a whole piece at the New York Times, about 5 pages. Natalie's magnificent obsession. I spent my career watching officials maneuver and scheme, often in absurd ways, to get closer to presidents. But I've never seen anything like the photo of Natalie Harp dashing after Trump's golf cart in Scotland 3 years ago. I'd also never heard of staffers jumping into the trunk of an SUV as Harp did when she was denied a seat in the motorcade. The movie Obsession, about a man who wishes for more adoration from a young woman who falls under his spell and provides it, is playing out on Pennsylvania Avenue. Like others, I winced when I first heard Senator John Ossoff, the Georgia Democrat, refer to how Trump liked to travel with Natalie. Was he gratuitously turning a salacious spotlight onto a White House aide? But as it turns out, with 3 little words, Ossoff pulled a string and unraveled something really dark and deranged at the innermost circle of Trump's White House. We don't have to read all this. This is ridiculous. Anybody around Trump they hate. It's a perfect taxpayer-funded relationship. She thinks he's amazing, and he agrees. Also, the Washington Post had a 13-page article saying doctors say Trump's weight poses a significant health risk. The president has gained about 20 pounds since his campaign. Okay. That makes him about 1.6 pounds shy of being classified as obese, as he was in 2019 and 2020, given his height of 6'3". So they have him listed at 215 pounds. Okay. So this is 13 pages about Trump's health. It would have been nice if we ever had 1 page about Biden's health in his 4 years in office. But yes, I realize I'm running late. Got to take another short break. Then we're going to wrap up today's edition of Frankly Speaking. So stay right there.
Make this the summer event at Chilson Wilcox. Reloaded. Drive home a 2026 Ram 1500 Express and save over $10,000. Step up to a 2026 Ram 1500 Bighorn Crew 4x4 and save over $13,000. Plus, it comes with the best powertrain warranty in the business. 10 years or 100,000 miles. Save over $8,000 on a 2026 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo X. And as always, get the highest trade-in values, period. Always save more at Chilson Wilcox. Selling cars a different way, the right way. Hurry in. When they're gone, they're gone.
World Youth Clubs provides professional and technical assistance to all our affiliate clubs all around the world. We already have 44 countries that are behind us providing safe spaces for kids, but there are 160 other countries we'd like to reach out to. Yeah. Right, Rod? Exactly. We need you to help fund the World Youth Clubs and make their dream come true.
Meteorologist Brandon Weathers, cooler and a bit unsettled for the start of the new week. Isolated thunderstorms for our Monday, but a high about 10 degrees below average, ranging from mid-60s to low 70s from west to east. Rain will be mostly before 10 p.m., then partly cloudy skies tonight with lows in the mid-50s, high back in the low 70s Tuesday. We could have some shower potential, then drier by Wednesday, at which time we're back closer to average, but more wet weather.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. A couple comments from viewers. A big wave from Canisteo. Well, welcome, Canisteo. Glad that you're joining us. Say hi to everybody in Canisteo. All right, a comment from a different viewer. Obviously, Maureen Dowd, has forgotten about the Obama worship from all the media. Great point. Hey, on the New York State front, I know we're almost out of time, a group of county sheriffs are raising concerns that a new state law that limits their cooperation with ICE will handcuff their ability to protect the public and also violates the state constitution. Peter Coe, executive director of the New York State Sheriff's Association, said sheriffs across the state have been discussing the issue for weeks ahead of Tuesday's state-imposed deadline for agencies to end contracts to support federal immigration efforts. While only a handful of sheriff's departments had the agreements, Coe said as many as 20 sheriffs are considering signing onto a lawsuit seeking to overturn the state's ban in cooperation agreements with ICE. Of the 12 agencies in the state that signed formal cooperative agreements, known as 287G agreements, 7 have already said they will end them by the deadline. Nassau County Sheriff, police, and sheriff departments both have ICE agreements, but have not signaled how they will contend with the deadline. Though Bruce Blakeman has said he is looking at legal options, Blakeman is running against incumbent Governor Kathy Hochul, who enacted the law in May. So we'll keep an eye on that lawsuit. Comment from a viewer. Thank you so much, Frank, for your selection of guests. Another show right out of the park. Thank you. Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, Joseph Hernandez was a great guest. Also, Sergeant Du Bois. You almost forget this. This show went so quickly. We want to thank the Sergeant for being on the program. If you miss those interviews, I will have them both up on our website and on YouTube a little bit later on in the day, so you can check, maybe on your way home. All right. That does it. Wow, that's crazy. Oh, here's one. U.S. taxpayers are funding $230 million in largely Biden-era grants to study woke intersectionality, the assessing of factors such as race and class to rate privilege and potential discrimination, according to a new report. The Defense of Freedom Institute and Legal Insurrection Foundation, both right-leaning policy groups, said that the review found 249 records of federal assistance spending propelled during the Biden era that used the keyword intersectionality. Race-obsessed intersectionality doctrine provides the toxic fuel for radical anarchist groups like the Turtle Island Liberation Front and is the mother's milk for destructive anti-American and anti-capitalist agendas that dominate campuses, said William Jacobson, the founder of Legal Insurrection. Amazingly, we have discovered that the federal government has been funding the intersectionality movement, said Jacobson, a Cornell Law School professor. This has to stop. So at least $230 million in grants. All right, that does it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. I want to thank everybody who joined us. That was a lot of fun. Joseph Hernandez, running for New York State Comptroller. We'll try to get him back on the program as we near election, but we're so grateful that he gave us that much time. That was obviously, if you didn't know, recorded on Saturday. He went up to the fair. Sounds like it was a fun time. So we want to thank Joseph Hernandez. Also, I want to thank Sergeant Du Bois from Corning Police Department. Don't forget that coming up soon, it's a Battle of the Badges. Corning Police Department taking on the Corning Fire Department Saturday, September 5th at 6 p.m. On tomorrow's program, we're going to learn about the Finger Lakes Bike Rally, motorcycle rally, that we'll find out all about on tomorrow's show. Wednesday, we'll talk with Kyle Northrup, the national U.S. team fighter, who's going to a big championship match. We're going to tell you all about that. And also, Steuben County Legislator Joe Tobia will be joining us on Wednesday. So we are having a busy week. We're just getting started. What a great way to kick off the program and kick off the week. Thanks for joining us. Tune in every weekday morning starting at 6 for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV Big Fox. We will see you tomorrow morning, bright and early. I look forward to it already.
It's layaway your swimming pool time at Hesselsen's for next year. With Hesselsen's Easy Layaway Plan, only $500 down guarantees you this year's price and gets you on an early installation date for next year. But hurry in, as next year's list will fill fast. Same great pricing, same great service, same great installation. Come in early so you can enjoy your new swimming pool all summer long. Hesselsen's, your locally owned and operated swimming pool store since 1955, will always be there for you today, tomorrow, and for years to come. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.